Hi everyone, it's John Heath here again for Milton Rose Learning with another Let's Learn video on King Lear, key quotes. Okay, so it's all a bit of madness and family strife with this one. Okay, so we've got three of the best themes which come up in exam papers year after year and in your essays as well at school. And we're going to slice and dice them like we normally do with three of the best quotes for each theme. Okay, so let's dive in. So first off then we have social responsibility and kind of I'd yoke in with their kingship towards that theme. So let's have a little look at responsibility and kingship. Okay, so first off then, from King Lear, come not between the dragon and his wrath. Okay, very baleful quote there. So King Lear sees himself as the absolute authority, i.e. the dragon, used as a metaphor in that quote. But this foreshadows how his power will soon crumble away when he gives it away. So basically, it's almost foreshadowing he is bigging himself up, like he's this massive kind of regal figure, but he's not as strong as he thinks he is. Okay, and obviously that the audience would pick that up in terms of dramatic irony. In terms of context as well, that's feeding into the kind of things like the divine right of kings, where kings in this period thought they were chosen by God, and so you can't mess around with me. And that would be a great one for you to kind of use in conjunction with that quote, the divine right of kings. Okay, then, next one on social responsibility and kingship. Which of you shall we say doth love us most? From Lear when he's talking to his daughters. So Lear reduces kingship to a contest of flattery. You've got to bow down and love me if you want my favour. But that's very poor kingship, and it's his poor judgment in wielding power, as that quote shows, which marks the beginning of his hamartia, or tragic downfall, a tragic kind of quality that he's got. He has extremely poor judgment, and it triggers his tragic downfall there. That's a really good quote to remember. And then the last one for kingship, the fool, who ironically really brings through loads and loads of interesting analysis on society in this time. The fool says, "Thou shouldst not have been old till thou hadst been wise." So let's just unpick what he's actually trying to say there, because it's a bit cryptic. The fool is pointing out the irony there of King Lear's position. Age and status have not brought him wisdom. We tend to kind of infer that those at the top of society, such as kings, are the best people in society, but not necessarily. There's been loads of kind of imbecile kings and queens throughout life and society and history. So that's what the fool is kind of picking out, and therefore it highlights the fragility of authority based on ego. If you've got a good king and stuff, then great, but if you've got a bad one, you're stuck with them. And that was a real problem in terms of this era. If you had a poor king at the top, you've got to wait until they die off. So it was not good, and the fool is highlighting that the weakness of that political position there. Okay, on to the next theme. So appearance versus reality. So let's look at three really good quotes for appearance versus reality, because in this play, as we know, nothing is ever as it seems. So Cordelia, she says, "Time shall unfold what plighted cunning hides." So what do we think Cordelia's saying there? Well, Cordelia's quiet kind of honesty there contrasts with her sister's false flattery, because they just flatter King Lear. But Cordelia actually tells it like it is. So it's a key example there of how truth is hidden behind appearances. She's trying to kind of wink towards her father and kind of say, look, the other two are just lying to you and they're pretending like they like you, but they don't. And I'm giving it you straight and being honest, okay? She's speaking truth to power is the phrase I would use in my kind of essay for that quote. Then back to the fool. So the fool says here for this theme, have more than thou showest, speak less than thou knowest. Okay, I love the little rhyme there. And it's a warning there about the dangers of deception and pretense. central to the tragedy of Lear's misjudgments, because we know Lear is a poor ruler with poor judgment. And he's basically saying there, isn't he, that don't let on and don't tell everybody your intentions, because people will use them against you effectively. So you've got to speak less than thou knowest. If you know certain things about other people, just keep them to yourself and use them to kind of almost manipulate behind the scenes in some senses. Don't play all your cards, because then people will use them against you politically. And that's a lesson which Lear never really learns, to be honest. Okay, then we go down to Edmund. So Edmund, thou nature art my goddess. Lovely quote there from Edmund. So Edmund is rejecting social norms and embraces a false, self-serving natural order, hiding his treachery behind the language of reason and justice. So nature was seen to be like kind of the right way of ruling here, and he's kind of saying, I am subscribing to a higher order than that. But he's just using political rhetoric there, fancy words basically, to hide his self-serving kind of treachery, which he doles out later on in the play. You can never trust anybody. I think we're learning that, aren't we? Okay, and last but not least, we've got justice and injustice. Okay, so that's a big theme in this play. So let's have a look at justice and injustice quotes, and we've got a great one to start from Gloucester. There we go. As flies to wanton boys are we to the gods. They kill us for their sport. So Gloucester is kind of saying, isn't he, there, that he has a very bleak view of divine justice. Humans suffer very randomly and cruelly as the gods just do what they want with us. We're just the playthings of gods. And there's no moral order to protect us. Gods just tend to do what they want, almost like just swatting a fly. We're of no consequence. And humans, no matter how much, even kings like King Lear, no matter how much we big ourselves up, we're ultimately inconsequential and we don't really mean anything in the divine order. Very pessimistic, but very profound in that sense. Okay, next one to King Lear himself. I am a man more sinned against than sinning. So very interesting quote. So it reveals a lot about Lear's psychology there. King Lear sees himself as a victim of injustice. He's been sinned against, though the play questions whether he deserves his suffering or has caused it through his own actions. And you'll get a lot of very interesting debates in class about that. How much is Lear a victim and how much is he the perpetrator of sin? In my classes when I teach, it's a bit of both. He's a very grey figure. He does bring some of this on himself because he's so stupid with his judgments, but also he's not helped either by some of the other characters who are, well, verging on outright evil, to be honest. But it's very interesting. It sums up the ambivalence of King Lear there. And then, last but not least, Lear again. Through tattered clothes, small vices do appear. Robes and furred gowns hide all. So what's he saying again? Well, he's saying that it's a powerful critique of legal and social hypocrisy in this period. The wealthy are protected, which is symbolised by the robes and furred gowns, very nice clothes. So the wealthy are protected behind their nice clothes, but the poor are punished for lesser crimes. They always, in this era, and dare I say even in the modern era, they tend to leave the big fish but go for the little kind of small fry and kind of, hand out justice to them rather than the people who are really doing wrong. And I think that's what Shakespeare's trying to say in that quote, and using Lear as his mouthpiece to kind of assess Elizabethan and Jacobean society after that. Okay, so hopefully you found that really useful. We've just had a quick look at kind of analysing three of the best quotes for some of the best themes for King Lear as well. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe and tap the bell icon. It really helps us to grow, and it ensures that you'll never miss another Let's Learn video again, and we're uploading kind of all the time at the moment. So yeah, please do that just to help the channel grow, and share with all your friends obviously. And it just remains to say thanks for listening, and we'll speak to you soon. Take care.